Welcome, and we hope you're having a good weekend. I'm Tanya O'Rourke. During this half hour, we'll take a look at some of the most impactful stories WCPO 9 News covered for you this week.
There were a lot of tears inside here today. The sheriff cried as he begged the judge for leniency. His supporters cried while describing his work as sheriff. And his wife and children cried when they found out that he would be spending time in prison.
It will be 3 years before Charles Reeder is free in public with his family again.
Your Honor, please do not send me to prison. I have roamed, but I'm not ruined. I still have a lot of good left in me.
Reeder became sheriff in Pike County, Ohio in 2015. In 2019, a grand jury indicted him on more than a dozen charges related to corruption, such as stealing money from drug bust and allowing his daughter to drive impounded cars. By 2020, he pleaded guilty to 5 of the charges, and today, Judge Patricia Cosgrove sentenced him for that.
Why did you take the money?
Reeder says he did it to fund charitable projects and says he paid it all back.
I took the money, and mind you, this does not excuse it, but from drug dealers that took it from parents of very poor people in this county.
Supporters told the judge job stress contributed to the scandal, mentioning the 2016 Pike County massacre that gained international spotlight.
There's no greater man than Charlie Reeder.
The judge sentenced Reeder to 6 years in prison for 2 counts of theft and 2 counts of tampering with evidence. She sentenced him to 6 months in the Summit County Jail for the conflict of interest charge. The judge is allowing him to serve some of those sentences at the same time, so he will serve a total of 3 years.
And we have to conduct ourselves with integrity so that everyone trusts us.
Reeder's son tried to hug him one last time before leaving. That's not typically allowed, so Reeder backed away. Deputies did not cuff Reeder in the courtroom, but they did before leading him outside to go to jail.
It cannot be underestimated the damage that you have caused to the citizens of Pike County, to law enforcement who every day get up, face the same sort of stresses that you do. They go all home at night, they get up in the morning, their family, they don't know if they're going to come home. The sacrifices that these men and women make, I think you made a mockery of them.
Our team has investigated this case extensively, and you can find all of those reports connected to this story on our website, WCPO.com. Reporting in Pike County, Ohio, Courtney Francisco, WCPO 9 News.
I'm Ariel Carbone. The city of Cincinnati will be able to use the $290 million in local stimulus money to support a laundry list of projects over the next 2 years, helping to not only bridge the budget gap, but also to support dozens of local initiatives and capital projects.
This is an exciting commitment and exciting leadership by our mayor, John Cranley, to transform our city.
The Ascend Cincy program, it's the latest program announced that could receive funding from the city's federal stimulus dollars.
This adds energy to the ecosystem of Cincinnati.
A proposed $5 million would help Black-owned businesses in Cincinnati grow and help minority business owners like Crystal Kendrick expand.
These funds are going to allow local Black-owned businesses that don't have employees to one day get employees.
It's just a small portion of the $290 million the city will receive. Here's a breakdown of how the city manager is proposing the money be spent. More than a third will go to the operating budget, including the budget deficit. A smaller portion will cover lost revenue due to the pandemic, and more than half would go to capital projects and city programs. The Cincinnati Recreation Commission could get $6 million for outdoor facility renovations. We spoke to Director Daniel Betts last month about the dire funding needs there.
CRC is overextended.
Plus, outdoor dining is slated for another $2 million. There's $5 million proposed for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, and the arts about $12 million. Some of which will bring the Bling Festival back in 2022.
It'll come back, and we will all have an opportunity to come back well past this pandemic.
Altogether, helping the city survive post-pandemic.
When business owners thrive, communities thrive, and neighborhoods thrive.
And it's likely that some of these numbers will change as this proposal goes through the process with City Council. Now, we'll get a much more in-depth breakdown of all of the numbers for you up on our website. That's WCPO.com. Reporting from City Hall, I'm Ariel Carbone, WCPO 9 News.
Hey guys, WCPO 9 News reporter Jake Ryle here. The City of Cincinnati Mayor John Cranley announces on Wednesday $12 million is going to be going from federal funds to the performing arts here in the city. And for those who work in the performing arts, they say it couldn't have come at a better time.
1, 2, 3.
Inside Clifton's Cultural Arts Center,
5, 6.
performers keep a beat, dancers celebrate.
6, 7, 1.
And next door, artists put pen to paper, all under one roof.
We actually have been on the hunt for a new site for a couple of years.
Leslie Mooney, executive director for the Arts Center, knows what the new $8.5 million facility will do for the community.
It'll be a boon for the neighborhood community investment.
And they're getting some help. $500,000 the city is allocating from federal government funds.
People who are behind the scenes and people who are on the stage performing have all, basically been out of work for over a year now. And so this will be huge for Cincinnati and for our arts community specifically.
Mooney knows the pandemic has brought change.
Wasn't quite the same to do a live performance without a live audience.
In the shadow of Music Hall, Mayor John Cranley hits a high note.
We're announcing that the arts are coming back.
$6 million will support performing arts.
Our city's renaissance, which is in full bloom despite the pandemic, is centered around culture. Art is the center of a good life.
And at the center of that life, $1 million will go toward encouraging the arts to perform outside in safe public spaces. Well, $1 million of the federal funds that the city is set to receive will go to what is likely the city's most public art display, Blink, in 2022. Also, $1 million for both Artworks youth employment and museums across the area.
Struggle to pay their rent, to pay their heat bills, to pay down their debt.
It's funding that will bring the performing arts a little bit closer to its audience. Jake Ryle, WCPO 9 News.
The CDC has long recommended that 6 feet is an acceptable distance, but that's been thrown out the window. Now they say 3 feet is all you need.
Today was great. We had the band playing, the cheerleaders out, balloons and everything to welcome our students back.
There was a celebration Monday at Norwood Middle and High School as students marched back to school for 5-day-a-week learning. The district has been in a hybrid model since August.
The plexiglass around the desk, all the children, of course, are wearing their masks. And in the cafeteria, we have spread the tables out.
The move back to full-time in-person learning coincided with the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention's change in operational strategy for K-12 schools. Instead of the 6 feet we're all used to, the CDC now says 3 feet apart is safe while wearing a mask.
We have picnic tables outside because that's where you need the 6 foot of distance because children are taking their mask off, obviously, to eat. So you need that 6 foot perimeter around the child.
Another district using the 3 foot rule is Lakota Local Schools. Staff and students there have been back in the classroom full time since August.
So we try and do 6 feet when possible, but that's, in a class where we have the majority of our students back, 75% of our students are back and in the buildings. It's not always possible.
She says 3 feet is working because numbers of cases are down drastically this semester.
It's been very, very little, if any, spread. We have 23 buildings, and when the state was seeing the spikes after like Halloween and Thanksgiving, our numbers obviously increased as well. But we were able to trace a lot of those back to out of school activities.
Both districts say it's refreshing to have students back in the classroom for good.
This is starting to feel like normal again, so we're just so happy.
In Norwood, Whitney Miller, WCPO 9 News.
Up next, a local soldier who was shot down by the Nazis. He escaped being captured thanks to a Dutch farmer. How that farmer's family has now reconnected with that local vet.
About a year and a half ago, World War II veteran Bob Doolin shared his story of crashing in a B-17 during World War II, his survival while evading capture, and his time spent in a prisoner of war camp. Since we last spoke, he made a pretty incredible new connection tied to the family in the Netherlands who helped him hide out after that crash.
Well, all hell broke loose. We lost number 4 engine to anti-aircraft.
World War II navigator Robert Doolin, known to most as Bob, is reading from a journal he kept during the war.
One of them exploded in the back inside our airplane and seriously wounded man in the back.
That anti-aircraft fire would lead to his pilot crashing their B-17 in the Netherlands. This is a photo of Bob's actual downed plane.
I just wanted to get as far from that airplane as possible, and then maybe hook up with the underground, the resistance.
He and the surviving crew headed south and eventually ended up at this farmhouse.
We slept there on the floor, and the next morning he gave us civilian clothing.
It's, I think, very amazing that he was able to stay and be aided by the family.
Lenny Van Doren is the great-granddaughter of Albert Van Oss, the farmer who helped hide Bob Doolin along with other Allied service members, trying to avoid German capture.
There's not that many people anymore alive that can really tell me something from their own perspective about those days.
Like many family members, Van Doren wanted to know more about the great-grandfather she'd never met, yet heard amazing war stories of helping others.
The fact that you would hide people in your own home, knowing also the risk that that would have for yourself, but also for your family.
Her research led to this United States Army document, which acknowledges her great-grandfather's efforts to help those evading capture. Among the men on the list, Robert Doolin. She searched Robert Doolin's name online and came across a story on WCPO.com.
I think it's through work like you're doing that I was able to find Mr. Doolin and to have this amazing opportunity.
I couldn't believe it. I mean, she found me because of some great, she saw a broadcast.
The two had the chance to speak over FaceTime, and she sent Bob a birthday card to celebrate his 104th birthday.
They helped me so much at great risk. It was unbelievable.
I must admit that still for me, our encounter has been very special. It's something that I will never forget.
Lenny's great-grandfather received the Medal of Freedom for his actions that ended up nearly costing him his life.
He was arrested. He was sentenced to death. He was sent to several camps in Germany. But miraculously survived the war.
For Bob and others, it was a heroic act.
Oh, it was an unbelievably brave thing to do.
They don't really see themselves as any heroes. They actually see the people that came to aid them as the real heroes. They were the ones that dared their lives to save us from the Germans. So I think this story has two sides.
It certainly does. Heroes on both sides. And there's much more to the story, and of course my original story on Bob and his crash landing, the time he spent in the famed Stalag Luft 3 prisoner of war camp as well. You can read all of it right now over on WCPO.com.
The pandemic has created all kinds of challenges for students and schools, but technical career schools have faced an extra obstacle because of their emphasis on hands-on training. Butler Tech has found a way around that with what it's calling an education revolution. Now WCPO 9 News reporter Josh Bazan shows us why school officials say their model is one other districts should follow.
I'm Josh Bazan. Like many schools, Butler Tech has had to adapt and adjust during the coronavirus pandemic. We'll take a look at how career tech education has been impacted and why Butler Tech says its model is one other districts should follow.
One of my favorite pieces I've done.
For 12th grader Angel Robinson,
Owning all the silliness about myself.
the graphic design program at Butler Tech is a way for her to embrace her identity and share her story.
And I thought it was like just a cool way to like be diverse and like share more about myself.
One of the main reasons she chose to attend Butler Tech is the school's unique approach to learning.
We all go to Butler Tech so we can like take control of our education, so we can further ourselves in like whatever we want to do.
And really redefining what the educational experience is for young people versus forcing it on them, letting them give life to it and design what their own experiences are along the way.
But like many schools, that learning model was turned on its head due to COVID-19. So Butler Tech turned to its teachers to find ways to provide that same kind of hands-on, student-focused education.
They're making changes to their curriculum, they're making changes to how they communicate, they're making changes to physical spaces.
I wish we could be in school every day, but for what it is, I do feel like they're working really efficiently to like teach us this stuff.
The school just released a documentary highlighting last school year. It follows 4 students, including Angel, and touches on the challenges of COVID-19. It also breaks down Butler Tech's approach to education, hoping other schools will follow its lead.
The work that we do at Butler Tech is only impactful if it spills over and starts to be a multiplier, if you will.
In Fairfield, Josh Bazan, WCPO 9 News.
I'm Courtney Francisco. More than 1 year since the beginning of economic shutdowns in Ohio and Kentucky, residents in both states are still fighting for the unemployment benefits they earned to take care of themselves and their children. You may remember Brandon Keller. He had $141 in his bank account and a family of 5 to feed when we told you his story March 8th.
Just survival. That's basically what it comes down to.
The Cincinnati dad lost his catering manager job in Kentucky due to COVID-19 last March. He says Kentucky started denying his benefits in September, and he cannot get anyone on the phone to free up $14,000 in back pay.
We're still stonewalling everybody out.
He could not afford to file a lawsuit with an attorney, so he went through small claims court to sue the labor cabinet for $1,600, the max allowed in a small claims court. Northern Kentucky Legal Aid sometimes provides attorneys to people in his position. No answer there either until we aired his struggles.
They did apologize. They said that they have some new people there that they were able to help me with my case, so they went ahead and they reached out to unemployment for me.
Mary Faith Colon is 66 and fears working during a pandemic. She hasn't received a penny of benefits in the past 6 months.
I'm okay, and with food banks and all of that, I've been able to take care of things.
Since I started asking the Kentucky Labor Cabinet about her case, she's getting calls returned.
I did hear back yesterday saying I'm looking into this. So I really appreciate the help she's given me, if nothing else, in clarity of what I could do.
She says her vaccine will soon kick in so she can return to work. She says stimulus checks helped, and Keller agreed.
We've got enough to make it through to probably about, I'd say, July, and then we're into the same issue we ran into again.
His small claims court date is April 14th. He thinks Northern Kentucky Legal Aid could possibly obtain the full $14,000 by mid-April. I'm still waiting for the Northern Kentucky Legal Aid Office to respond to my calls. The Unemployment Office in Kentucky says it cannot comment on pending court cases. Governors in both states, Ohio and Kentucky, have not responded to multiple requests to discuss. Reporting at the banks, Courtney Francisco, WCPO 9 News.
Thousands of tri-staters are working from home with the pandemic shutting down their offices. But a growing number of them are asking why they still have to pay income taxes to a city they no longer work in. On this suburban street in Westchester, people who used to commute to their jobs are now working from home. Among them, Austin Herman, a data analyzer who left his downtown office in March, but he still has to pay city income tax to Cincinnati with its 1.8% tax rate.
I don't vote for the city council there. I don't get the services anymore, and I still have to pay.
It's real money. If you earn $60,000 a year, a 2% income tax costs you $1,200 a year to a city where you don't use any services.
I mean, that's taxation without representation to me. I mean, that's an issue, right? Like, I'm surprised they can still do that.
But even though you're working at a computer in your bedroom or your kitchen, cities say your employer is still located within their boundaries, and they still need your hard cash to stay solvent in these tough times.
If we had this sudden loss of revenue, especially our larger communities would really see a challenge in funding police and fire, which makes up about 80% of their general operating budget.
Kent Scarrett represents cities as director of Ohio's Municipal League.
This is Tony. How can I help you today?
He tells me if remote workers stopped paying tax, some cities would face bankruptcy, and says Ohio cities would lose $300 million a year and be forced to lay off essential workers. But Austin says there has to be a better way.
We're going to have to get creative to find better ways to fund these services going forward, not just during the pandemic.
Ohio and most states now have laws in place to allow cities to keep taxing you through the pandemic emergency. So for now, you have to keep paying it so you don't waste your money. I'm John Matteries, WCPO 9 News.
The pandemic has been especially stressful for frontline medical workers. To show support for all they do, a few months ago, a local group used an idea that's moving across the country to show their support. This is one of Kristen Hartman's Positively Cincinnati stories that was so well baked, we wanted to pull it from the archives for you to see again.
There's no dough in this dough. Just the possibility that when it becomes a batch of cookies, the sweet treats will make folks smile. It's what's motivating this mini bagging brigade. We found them in a garage in Sims Township. getting hundreds of cookies ready for delivery. It's actually part of a national movement.
I read about Jeremy Urich and Scott McKenzie in a magazine.
The Pennsylvania dads had a bake-off that turned into something they called Cookies for Caregivers.
And when I read about them, I knew right away that I wanted to be a part of this and start a Cincinnati chapter.
When Missy Greenberg and Bryna Miller got it going on Facebook, they never imagined they'd be starting a local cookie craze, from the classic to the fancy. Just 5 weeks in, they have 175 bakers. Those volunteers bring the cookies to them, and they package and box the goodies for frontliners and essential workers across the tri-state.
These are going to Children's Hospital Anesthesia Department tomorrow.
They say they're spreading joy one cookie at a time and showing all those people who've taken care of patients and kept things going how valued they are.
Gives me joy because when we deliver, we see the smile that it brings to people, and they're just so thankful to be acknowledged.
The little sweet treat.
Right, a little sweetness.
It's sweet for them, too.
For me, being in the kitchen, having that time is my therapy.
So, Missy, is it your spoonful of sugar?
Yes, yes. Yes, it is.
In tough pandemic times, it's something fun and good to do all at once. Perhaps that's why their baking ranks, that's me in my own kitchen, grew so fast. The baking boom makes for brisk delivery time. We watched as they loaded up, and then we joined them at a dental office drop-off.
All your hard work.
Thank you so much. It means a lot when other people appreciate you. It makes you want to do it more. It makes you want to do your best.
Even though we're in the dental field, we love sweets.
Absolutely. Just brush your teeth after.
Yeah, right?
That was Kristen Hartman reporting. The Cookie Ladies told her donations would really be helpful as they buy all the labels, boxes, and bags for the cookies as of now. That's our look at some of the stories that we brought you this week on WCPO 9 News. We'll have you covered this weekend on Good Morning Tri-State Plus at 6 and 11. I will see you Monday.